Getting back to the question, if Avram sinned, whether it was a lack of faith or he missed the opportunity to convert the stone community to become monotheists, why were the Jewish people held culpable for Avram's failing? It's an obvious question. We find that when Avram Avinu, Avram our patriarch, had summoned his dedicated servant, Eliezer, who's referred to as Eliezer the Damascene. So literally it means he came from Damascus. Damascus is Damascus. And the Torah goes to describe what were his capabilities. He oversaw his financial empire, and Avram was a very wealthy man. Anything that had relevance to material was overseen by Eliezer, the servant of Avram. Not only that, the Talmud tells us the word Damasek is really an acronym for Dole Umashke Mitoros Sharabo. Just as Avram had disseminated God's Torah to the world to convert pagans to monotheism, all the Torah that Avram had received from God through divine communication was communicated to Eliezer. And he drew from the well springs of Avram to disseminate that same Torah. We're talking about a person who is spiritually charged, spiritually inspired. The Midrash tells us that initially, when Eliezer had gone to Choron to seek a wife for Eliezer, for Yitzchak, his master, he had radiated a holiness that Lavan, the brother of Rivka, had mistaken Eliezer for his master Avram. Avram was the uncle of Lavan. This was the holiness of Eliezer. He's a very holy man. And initially, when he was sent to find a wife for Yitzchak, the future patriarch, meaning that wife would be the eventual matriarch of the Jewish people, he had set very specific conditions. She has to be from his family. She cannot be a Canaanite descent. So Eliezer asks a question to his master. Maybe the woman, after I locate her, she may not be agreeable to return. What should I do then? He says, you are absolved from my oath. Under no circumstance shall you take a woman of Canaanite descent. So the Midrash tells us, when Eliezer asked the question, in Hebrew, the word maybe is ulai. So normally the word ulai, in its full spelling, has a vav in it, which it can only be read as maybe. However, when Eliezer tells of the story to Besuel, this is the father of Rivka, when he's negotiating her hand for his master, he says, I asked my master, maybe the woman will not be willing to come back with me. The word ulai is spelled deficiently, without the vav. So without the vowels, it could be read Eli, to me. So Rashi cites the Midrash, what Eliezer had said to his master Avram, what are you sending me off to this far off land to find a wife for your special son, who's this unblemished offering? I have a daughter who's devoutly righteous, who's a holy woman. Why can't she be the future matriarch of the Jewish people? Why does it have to be from your family? So Avram answered and explained to Eliezer, I descend from Shem, the son of Noach. He's of blessed stock. You are a Canaanite. You descend from Chum. Chum was cursed by his father Noach. You are of a cursed stock. Someone of a blessed stock cannot cleave to someone of a cursed stock. What does this mean? But she's devoutly righteous. The understanding is the Jewish people have to be an eternal people, eternally, spiritually viable, without any degree of impurity or deficiencies within their spiritual makeup. Although she is definitely devout, spiritual, but her spiritual genealogy is cursed. You cannot build a Jewish people with a flawed foundation. The patriarchs are the foundation of the Jewish people. If there's any weakness in their foundation, this unending, infinite people cannot stand on that level of foundation with this level of deficiency. Therefore, ein orur bizdabik beborach, a cursed being, a cursed genealogy cannot cleave to someone of a blessed genealogy. When we speak about that a child is not culpable and liable for the sins of the father, we're not speaking about genealogy. We're speaking about if a father fails, the father's record is unrelated to the child's record. And if the child does not emulate the evil ways, the errant ways of the parent's record has no relevance to the child. But Avram Avinu, Abraham, the founding patriarch of the Jewish people, who is the foundation of the Jewish people. We're not speaking about liability and culpability here. We're speaking about spiritual deficiency. If you plant a tree and the root is diseased, that disease will manifest itself in the trunk, in the branches, and ultimately in the fruit. It's going to be diseased fruit. If there's a spiritual deficiency in Avram, because he asked that question, which was considered at his level lack of faith, or he had an opportunity to convert the Sodom community to monotheism, and he did not, the spiritual deficiency ultimately will manifest itself in his progeny, in the Jewish people, and the level of viability of this spirituality will not be able to withstand and to advance to the level which God would want them to be. To have that special relationship with him, to become the princely, kingly nation, the chosen people, God's children, which we did become at Sinai.